Last two times that we talked, we were giving you a picture of changes that take place in the process of correcting the elements of capitalism which are oppressive to some sections of the population, in particular the questions of poverty, jobs loss, etc., lack of preparing for some of the problems that people face in their lives, and just a continued concern for the financial section. But we showed you pictures of what it means when we begin to develop democratic forms of correcting some of the shortcomings of capitalism. And that was the purpose of our presentations, so that you would get the idea that that socialism was a kind of a movement which really began with the religious movements of the 16th, 17th century, and then it changed into a political character. That the change that comes about when you develop democratic methods of solving the problems of poverty and joblessness and the like lead into some new relationships between people, economic relationships, political relationships, etc. And the process itself is the process of developing a real democracy. That is, democracy which reflects the interests of the majority of the people. So democracy is the key question in any changes that take place in society, whether it is forwards or backwards. Like the fascism in Germany didn't help, it went backward. But at the present time in Germany, there is a revival of interest in Marxism. And I just got a report here from the internet on Germany flocking to Marx. Now, why is Germany flocking to Marx? First of all, of course, Marx was German, and the Europeans' attitude towards Marx and Marxism and European attitude towards democracy is quite different from that of the United States. The European attitude toward democracy is based upon the fact that they have a different idea of class structuring of the democratic process. In the United States, we have a two-party system, but everybody knows that essentially the two parties were parties that reflected the interests of the corporations and of the wealth in the country. And now in Europe, it was quite different. Democracy developed into parties, and each party represents a different economic sector of the economy. In other words, the parties themselves reflect a pyramiding, so to speak, of class interests in different parties. Therefore, the rules and regulations and laws that pass take into account the strengths of these different political organizations that battle in a democratic way, in an open way, to create laws and create relationships. Therefore, in Europe, they did many things to take care of the interests of working people, which is not exactly true in the United States. And because the parties in Europe were representing a large mass and did have political clout, because they could send members of their class into the congresses which made the laws and carried them out. And so we're dealing with capitalism, of course, but no one should have the idea that capitalism is the same in every country, and how the people relate to each other in a political way and in an economic way. For instance, the whole idea of the welfare state, which developed in Europe, was a way of getting people who were exploited being exploited and being excluded from economic development, who would then have some access to standard of living because the ruling class agreed to share the wealth. So welfare state is a method of sharing the wealth.